What's on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and some news broke over the middle of the night that seems bizarre, but sometimes Occam's razor is true, and the most likely, explanation is in fact the correct one. We don't know yet. I normally don't cover this type of thing. I think basically the only passings that I've really covered my entire life was Stan Lee and Wreckful, if I remember correctly, anyway. And this one is, it could be weird. I don't know. Gene Hackman, for, as far as, basically I've seen a million movies with the guy in. I've never seen a young Gene Hackman. Every movie I've ever seen him in, he's old. He was old. Him passing away at almost 96 years old is not really bizarre. But then you see this article, sheriff reveals bizarre way bodies, the bizarre way bodies of Gene Hackman, wife, dog were found at his sprawling mansion. So Gene Hackman passed away. Again, that's not weird, because he was very, very old. He lived a very full life. Any man in America would be very lucky to live into their 90s, and especially still be relatively active like he was. But it was weird that his wife and dog also passed away. Now, the very first thing I thought of was carbon monoxide. Of course, Twitter went to the list right away. Uh-oh, he's going to be on the list. I don't think there's any evidence of that. His name's never been tied to that. If that ends up being the case, okay, fine. But there's no evidence of that, and I don't think perpetuating that rumor is really fair. Especially since, as far as I know, Gene Hackman has never really been, a part of any nastiness. Legendary Hollywood actor Gene Hackman, his wife Betsy, and their dog have been found passed away in their New Mexico home. The couple, who had been married since 1991, were found passed away in separate bedrooms of their Santa Fe home, police reported. One of their 3 dogs was also found passed away inside a kennel. Police have said that no foul play is suspected, and that there were also 2 other dogs in the house that survived the triple tragedy. Now, I don't know if you watched my live stream yesterday. I do live stream every day at 1 Eastern over on a YouTube channel called Quartercast, and on Rumble. I'll leave the links, and you can download Rumble, follow the Quartering. If you want to watch on YouTube, Quartercast will be linked in the description. Yesterday I had some work being done at my house, and they were doing a small amount of spray insulation. And Huck, while I was live streaming for the first time of any of my dogs or ever in my life, had a massive full-on seizure. And after some further research, I found that German Shepherds can be prone to this, to epilepsy. But I don't know what triggered it. But of course, at the time, I was immediately like, oh, it must be the spray insulation. But I also have 5 cats upstairs, and none of the cats, and they're much smaller. I guess where I'm going here is maybe the other 2 dogs were bigger, and there was a small carbon monoxide leak. But the whole thing is weird, because if there was enough carbon monoxide to take the lives of not just Gene Hackman, but also his wife, how did the other 2 dogs survive? Maybe they were in a different part of the house where the leak wasn't. To me, if the police do come out and say, hey, it was a carbon monoxide leak, here's what I'm going to say. I literally just bought this. You can see I bought it on February 11th. I had a CO2 leak in my house in February, and I didn't know what it was coming from. Turns out, I'll leave a link to the one I bought. By the way, I bought like 3 of them and put them on each floor of the house. The one in the furnace room, stuff like that. But turns out there was an LP tank from my grill that would be randomly leaking gas. And so I would walk outside onto the patio to let the dogs out, and I'd be like, man, I smell gas. What is that? And then I had actually written it off to, I have what's called as a blue flame heater. Stick with me, folks. I'm going somewhere here. I have a blue flame heater in my garage. What is that? Well, it's like how guys will heat their workshops or whatever, and they do off gas a little bit. Like when they turn on or turn off, you can smell gas. And I was convinced that's what it was from. Every day I was out there and I could smell it. And I was like, what is going on? Then, like, my father-in-law came over to check on my house while I was on vacation. And he's like, oh, you have an LP tank on your porch that's leaking gas. And it was just sitting there. It just started leaking all on its own. And who knows, there's not enough gas in an LP tank probably to cause a major incident, and other than, it blowing up or something. But, like, it's easy to, like, poo-poo these type of things. So I went out and I put these up, all around my house. So, right now, obviously, sure, it seems like the most likely scenario is that either they had some kind of pact. Why take one of the dogs? That's bizarre. And if you're going to take one of the dogs, why didn't you take all 3 dogs? That is the furthest, speculation from me. I'm not even talking about the list information coming out. I don't think that that's plausible. There's no evidence of that. Or there was a carbon monoxide leak, which in that case, the 2 dogs that survived, that's odd. Now, maybe it was, and they were in separate rooms. So it wasn't like a leak. The police have not mentioned any smell of gas. There's been multiple articles and updates that they've said nothing about gas leaks. So it's possible that they took their own lives and then brought their dog with them, maybe their favorite dog. Very, very weird, right? Now, here's the other thing. Police told the outlet that an associate of the couple had called 911 after discovering them. Sheriff Mendoza added that no note was found and there were no obvious signs of trauma. No foul play were indicated immediately. At this stage, we're in the process. There isn't anything obvious like that, the sheriff said. The autopsy is going to tell us more. The sheriff added that we're not going to guess that this was an accident or natural causes. I mean, Gene Hackman was 100 years old. It's entirely likely that, he had passed. If it was just him who had passed away, it'd be like, okay, well, I personally have a policy of not really mourning people who pass away over 90. Like, unless they're family, right? Like, you lived a full life, you crushed it. You played with house money for 5 or 10 years, especially if you're mobile and active and, whatever at that age. I don't really ever think it's a tragedy when somebody, passes away of natural causes in their 90s or late 80s. That's, but the other one was only 60, and their dog, obviously, is very weird. Gene Hackman, excellent actor, been known for very long. Here is Gene Hackman was my favorite actor, so I watched all his films young and old. But I love that Gene even at 90, bought a bike. So he was still active in his 90s. His daughter has suspected that he and his wife passed away of carbon monoxide poisoning. The issue is, going back to my story about CO2, carbon monoxide, you can smell it. They add a scent to that gas. Now, if you're asleep, you won't smell it. You'd be very lucky to wake up to an odd smell. If you've ever been around any kind of gas leak, you smell it immediately. So the fact that nobody smelled it days later in the house, why would the leak magically fix itself? That seems odd to me. I don't want to be disrespectful and paint any weird conspiracy theory here. I'm just saying it's odd. Gene, the bodies were found Monday during a welfare check called by a neighbor. Santa Fe County Sheriff told TMZ that they were there for at least one day. The authorities are not ruling anything out. So they're not ruling anything out. I mean, maybe they had a weird pact from when he passed away. The trauma thing seems unlikely. Somebody taking their life seems unlikely. Forensic expert on Fox News contributor Dr. Michael Baden said, also noted the couple's passings were, quote, typical for carbon monoxide poisoning. When a car motor is left on and isn't properly turned off, carbon monoxide comes out of the exhaust, goes into the house. Dogs or any other animal and humans pass away. They don't feel any type of pain. Now, that would be an explanation as to, say, they left the car on and, at some point it had run out of gas. So the vehicle ran out of fuel. So the gas stopped going into the house. So by the time someone came in there, it didn't smell. That's entirely possible. It could happen from a boiler malfunctioning, producing carbon monoxide. This says that the daughter suspects it was carbon monoxide. That's what I would suspect as well. Look at them, German Shepherd owners too. Very, very, sometimes, most likely, I will say, not sometimes, most likely, the most reasonable answer is, what the answer is. Get yourself a carbon monoxide detector. I'll put a link to the one I got. Put them on every floor of your house. Put them by the furnace. This type has like AA battery backup, so you're going to want to switch that out every couple of years, but it also plugs in. So if your power goes out, you still have carbon monoxide detection. Probably worth, $50, $100, depending on how many spots you want to put them. If there's more to the story, I'll report on it. But with that, I just want to leave it as it is and use, honor his great career, but also use this as an opportunity to remind all of my viewers to get yourself a carbon monoxide detector. I'll leave a link to it in the description or the pinned comments. At least the one I got. Get whatever one you want. Do your own research. The reason I got this one is the backup mentality and the fact that it had 40,000 reviews. So I hope you were informed by this video. If you were, please do leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, please subscribe or follow down below. We'll talk to you again real soon.